This episode was recorded a while ago. Though some of the information may have since been updated, the content remains timeless. You're listening to NFTeaseMe with MIKEY, the show where I interview successful entrepreneurs, artist creators, and thought leaders pioneering the world of NFTs. My guest today is Bryce. He's a popular NFT gaming creator on Twitch and is working with everyone from Snoop Dogg to Gary Vee in shaping the NFT gaming metaverse. Today we're in Miami, one of the biggest hubs in the world for NFTs and the crypto community, and we're going to be chatting about NFT gaming and how it's one of the biggest markets in the metaverse. Welcome to the show, Bryce.
Thank you for having me, Mikey. It's exciting to be on the show and having you here in Miami. It's the first time ever being hung out, so it's super cool. You
know what? You are my first Twitter friend that I've met from the NFT community in real life.
Hopefully I'm the least awkward one that you run into.
And you've been absolutely everywhere recently. You've been speaking at loads of different events. And what one were you at this weekend? FX Summit?
Yeah, FX Summit, for sure.
Yeah, and you're going to be speaking at Bitcoin later this year. How does it feel to be in this position right now?
It's quite surreal because I remember before things truly took off, it was always this moment of, oh, what happens when you get there? And you're grinding so hard to see what happens. And then you get there and you're like, oh, this is kind of what it feels like. Yeah. But it's a blessing. I'm thankful to be here, connected with so many people and growing in the space and really helping pioneer the play to earn space as a whole.
Yeah, well, we're going to chat loads about that because if there's anyone who knows about the play to earn space, it is you. So let's first start. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you first get into NFTs?
Yeah, so, I like long walks on the beach. That's something. No, I'm just kidding. So I got into NFTs about a year and a half ago. And at first I heard about NBA Top Shot, but I never really dove into it. And I was listening to a podcast. I heard about Axie Infinity and this thing called digital land in the metaverse. I didn't know what any of these concepts meant. And this was about March of 2021. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, let me go do a deep dive. And I go home, I try to go on YouTube, Twitch, find information about Axie Infinity at the time. It was very limited information, so I ended up deciding to go ahead and start streaming it, start playing the games, and seeing where it took me. And it just so happened that things took off very quickly, but it was very much my intro into Web3, NFTs, and everything in between.
How quickly did it take off?
So about a month and a half. So I started streaming in April. I was averaging between 1 and 5 viewers, and this time in May, May 1st, I was getting around 50 to 100. And then by June, I was averaging around 700, 800. In July, we were well over into the thousands. I think some days I would cap out at around 5,000 or 6,000 viewers.
That's insane. Have you always been into gaming?
Yeah, I have my whole life. My mother used to take me and we would travel up and down the East Coast to attend gaming tournaments and conferences, which was my initial intro into gaming. She always supported this, follow your passions type of mentality. And of course, I did well in school, so she allowed me to play more games. So that's kind of why I added in.
Win-win situation for both of you and Mum. What then, if you had to describe simply, what is the difference between traditional gaming and NFT gaming?
So in traditional gaming, the biggest thing that you see is you're just playing these games for entertainment purposes, but you don't actually see or partake in any of the upside from these games in terms of whether it's earning money from the game or revenue. For example, I know, in the UK, FIFA is an incredibly popular game and people spend, hundreds of dollars every single year to buy the new FIFA, play Ultimate Team and all these different things. But in the Web3 space, it's more so, you own the assets. So in terms of NFTs, a lot of people know the Bored Apes and all these profile pictures, but what about the idea of gaming NFTs where you own the assets, you can take them from game to game. You could also sell them. It's illegal to sell FIFA items. So it's there's a bit of a difference in terms of how ownership works. And that's the big difference between kind of Web 2 or Web 2 gaming, traditional gaming, and Web 3, which is NFT gaming.
Okay, so through NFT gaming, you actually own the characters that you play within the game.
Exactly.
So they're assets.
Yep.
So I think I've had somewhere they call that in-game assets, something like that.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Okay, so they're in-game assets. And so the NFT game itself, is it owned by who plays it or is it owned by a company?
So companies normally create them. They call them decentralized organizations or DAOs. But normally these games have different like currencies associated. So they'll have their own token, and you can buy and partake in some of the upside by owning the token. Like for example, Axie Infinity, they have their own crypto called AXS. And if you own it, it gives you certain things that you can do, like governance. So you get to vote on where the game goes and things of that sort to really allow the users to have some level of ownership over how the creation goes.
So you mentioned Axie Infinity there. So Axie Infinity is how you got into the gaming space originally. For like viewers and listeners alike, can you tell us a little bit about what Axie Infinity actually is for people who maybe aren't into gaming?
Of course. So I would say Axie Infinity most closely mirrors Pokemon. So the whole concept of Pokemon is you're playing the game and you go around and you catch these little characters. You battle them against other people's, maybe it's your friends or, the computer or somebody online. Well, Axie is the same way. Every little character in the game is based off an axolotl, which is like this weird little, I guess, aquatic animal, like fish type creature.
Axolotl.
It's called an axolotl. What ends up happening is every one of these little Axies are actual NFTs. And you battle them. So you can battle two of them together, and the person who wins the battle actually earns cryptocurrency. So that's kind of how the play to earn boom started or originated. It was Axie Infinity. It was two traders or people battling their NFTs against each other, and then the winner would earn cryptocurrency.
If you're interested in collecting NFTs, why not start with this podcast?
This week's episode cover is brought to you by mixed media NFT artist Susan Jean, and available as an NFT collectible for Series 1 of this podcast.
Each collector receives a future access token to NFTeaseMe, from live events to meet and greets and deeper access into the minds of my guests. Check out NFTeaseMe on OpenSea and Rarible. Now back to the show.
Okay, so they get paid in Axie currency.
Yeah, so the Axie currency is called SLP or Smooth Love Potion. Yeah, the name is kind of weird, but that's also how you breed Axies. So you would use the Smooth Love Potion for two different Axies, and then they would make another Axie that you could sell. So that's another kind of form of income there.
I feel this makes total sense to like one group of people and nonsense to another group of people. Exactly. Like it's so confusing. So you got SLP token and then you got Axie token.
Yeah.
So wait, what's the difference again between them both?
Yeah. So the first one, Axie's token, which is AXS, is a governance token. So it gives you voting rights. You could actually stake it to like have passive income in terms of, imagine your savings account, but think about that in the crypto space. So you could take that token, stake it, and earn more. So staking is just a mechanism of like putting your token into a pool and then earning like a dividend or revenue off of that token being like staked.
So what would a pool be?
So the pools are very much dependent on kind of the games. So Axie has its own token allotment that they give as a reward to the early adopters. So those who are staking their tokens and believing in the ecosystem. So that is like how you earn interest on that token. So let's say you staked $1,000 and, in a lot of these games, the interest rates are high. You're looking at, things above 20%. You're earning 20, 30% a day on that $1,000 that you had staked in a sense.
Okay, that's wild. Okay. I think I understand it. I understand it a bit more. So if I was wanting to stake my Axies, what I do is I would first buy an Axie character, play the game, then through playing the game, try to earn this SLP token, and then stake my SLP or Smooth Love Potion token in a pool and get interest on that.
Yeah, in a sense. Now, for Smooth Love Potion, the staking options are a bit limited, but what you can do with that Smooth Love Potion is swap it, or like imagine if you went onto a regular stock exchange and you exchange, dollars for a certain company. Well, you can do the same thing in the crypto space. You could go ahead and take Smooth Love Potion and exchange it for another cryptocurrency on the blockchain. So you could swap that into another Axie token, which is AXS, which is the staking token, and it'll allow you to stake it and earn income.
Okay, got it. So wait, what if you can't afford to get into, like, buy your own Axie?
Yeah.
How would you go about that then?
So for the longest time, there was this process of lending Axies. They called it a scholarship program. And the reason why it was called scholarshiping is because normally users would play with other people's in-game assets for a certain amount of time until they've earned enough cryptocurrency to buy their own. Then they would buy their own, like kind of graduating that scholarship. So there is a huge market for lending in-game assets to other people and earning passive income. And the best way I talk about this is saying, imagine you bought a real estate property wherever you live and you decided, hey, I want to rent this out to someone to live on it. I mean, you probably have to pay a pretty penny to get that property upstarted versus in the metaverse, you can buy in-game assets fairly cheap and people can play with them. And we've seen in developing countries where a lot of people are more likely to rent these assets. And then normally the person renting the asset and the person owning the asset, they split, some level of the dividends. So, what's most common is like a 75-25 split where 75% goes to the renter and then 25% goes to those who are lending. So they're able to make a little bit of profit. The person who's playing the game makes some money and eventually they can afford their own in-game assets.
Okay, so you'd start by renting out one of these axes and basically, like a loan, you give like a certain percentage of your earnings every month to the owners.
Exactly.
And then you can eventually buy your own axie.
Yep.
Okay, got it. I heard like in lockdown, in the pandemic, in the Philippines, playing Axie Infinity actually helped keep some of the economy afloat. Like, can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. What we saw was a lot of people gravitate towards the game because you could play for a couple of hours and earn like, $15, $20. And in the Philippines, the average minimum wage there is probably like $2 or $3 in terms of that's what someone makes for an entire day. And that some of that's hard labor, like outside, maybe working in a field or working in a store and it's hot, et cetera, et cetera. But in Axie, you were actually able to play for like 2 to 3 hours a day and earn, $20. Some people are earning even more than that, which is living like a much better than, a minimum wage citizen in that country. So people were living very well playing Axie Infinity during the pandemic. And it ended up being a really huge use case and success story.
Wow. And like I heard, so Ronin Wallet, which I think is the digital wallet with Axie Infinity, I heard there are more people in the Philippines with a Ronin Wallet than a bank account. Is that true? I mean, that's like some unverified like source, but that's true.
Yeah, that is true. Just in my own like kind of following, I've come in touch with a lot of Filipino people and they would say, yeah, I don't have a bank account, but I can cash this out by, other methods, but they all use Ronin. So what was very interesting is that blockchain, the Ronin blockchain actually became a gateway to financial inclusion for a lot of people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds in the Philippines.
Like, what would you say gamers want from an NFT game?
I would say for the most part, in developing countries, gamers just want an earning mechanism. So they want a way to be able to play the game, show their skill off, and make some money. I think in more consumer markets, like in Europe and in the Americas, you're looking at a thing where gamers want fun games, and they want games that they can play and gravitate to and have enough entertainment value to keep their attention. And attention span is something that is like incredibly limited now. So I would say that there is a dynamic of two different types. You have the gamers who want to play for games because they need to be fun. Then you have those who want to play for the earning. And striking that balance is incredibly difficult. And we've seen a lot of NFT games struggle to provide both sides of that coin.
So if I wanted to today get into NFT gaming, how would you suggest to make, like I wanted to make a living off being an NFT gamer, how would you suggest I go about it?
Well, I would say that right now, just for playing the game, there's not enough there to be able to make a living. But I think from the perspective of, myself as a content creator, I make a living making gaming content around NFTs. And the reason why it's so lucrative right now is because one, the field is so new. It's like the Wild West. There aren't that many people in NFT gaming. So the level of competition is lower. And if you're creating higher quality product or value, there's a higher chance of sponsorships and being able to, have streams where people watch you and get paid to do so. So I would say the content creator kind of niche is where NFT gaming is most lucrative right now, but you can still earn a fair amount of money playing the game.
Give us 3 NFT games to watch out for this year.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. If I had to pick 3, I would say first on my list is Illuvium. It's an NFT game very similar to League of Legends. So for those who are familiar with that League MOBA style, tactical kind of team fighting style of game. The next one is called Big Time. It's a MMO style game, very similar to like an Elden Ring or a Genshin Impact.
Wait, what's an Elden Ring?
So Elden Ring is another game that is incredibly popular. It's the best-selling traditional video game in the world right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I so knew that. Definitely knew that.
So it got super big. And I'm sorry if you thought the ring was an actual ring, but...
We'll just get it out.
It's all. Yeah, so it got super big, but it's a very similar style game, and there are tons of people who are hopping into it, myself included. I'm very huge on it. And the other one, I want to give you one that's more so a mobile game, because I know not everybody has all the time to play on a PC or, a console. So I would say Galaxy Fight Club. It is a MOBA. So a MOBA is like a kind of an impressionable style game. And what happens is you're kind of just walking around and you're fighting back and forth. So it's an arena style shooter put on your phone. Very simple to play, very easy to run, and very arcadey style of game. So I think those are three that could do incredibly well this year.
Hey, awesome. I need to check them out. And like Olivia and that's one, I need to check that out too. You obviously saw a gap in the market, an opportunity to pioneer NFT gaming through content creation. Or did you? Or did you just fall into it?
No, I really kind of saw it. So I just got on Twitch one day and no one was streaming about the entire category. There was no category for NFT gaming. I said, maybe we should start making these videos and just see where it happens.
Yeah.
And, beyond my wildest dream, it blew up in my face in a good way, like not a bad way, but it ended up taking off incredibly quickly. So it was kind of like seeing the market, but then also realizing, okay, maybe because no one's talking about it, it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. You can be the first one to really start pioneering it.
And like you obviously do the content creator gaming, but you also run your own company called Loot Squad. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Loot Squad, initially we started out as a gaming guild. And for those who aren't familiar, in Web 2 or traditional gaming, you have these different gaming organizations that have esports teams. And, similar to, traditional, I guess, athletics or sports, you're in a space where, those guys are competing back and forth. Well, the same thing happens in gaming, and it really blew up. So in Web 3, these guilds have esports teams as well, but they're also like large asset lending companies. So when we talked about the idea of renting out your in-game assets, these companies rent out assets at scale. The largest one in the space was Yield Guild Games. They're still around, north of $1 billion valuation.
So something I wanted to go back on, how do you think play-to-earn gaming will change the future of work? Because obviously already in the Philippines, it helped some people's livelihoods and probably still continues to. How do you see it revolutionizing the workplace? Because you got play-to-earn gaming, but are there any other revenue stream models, or just how do you think it's going to progress in the metaverse?
Of course. So I think that there is space because at the very root of it, it's creating a world where people are becoming much more financially intelligent at a younger age. Most people are gamers. And from a gaming perspective, at least myself, I knew everything about every video game, but even in school, they don't teach financial education here in the States that well. And a lot of people are very late to the game in terms of understanding what it means to be financially intelligent. The cool thing about crypto and Web3 and decentralization is it opens these doors a lot sooner. And with the combination of gaming added, it creates a world where people are very much in tune with finances a lot earlier in their lives. So a lot of young people. So on top of the fact that these games will eventually evolutionize and get much better from an entertainment standpoint, you're entering a world where you have full control over assets that could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more one day. And I think that the power of financial inclusivity in gaming can create a world where people progress and do things that are very much aligned with their own dreams and goals a lot sooner. So I'm very much bullish on the socioeconomic standpoint of what NFT and play to earn can do. And from a real use case perspective, I think, imagine if you took a kid who's 10 years old and they got to play games and actually make money from the time that they're 10 until they graduated high school or college. You probably would have made enough money to, start a company or pay for all of your college outright without any student loan debt. So I think there are tons of use cases where it can be applicable.
Girl, can you imagine if in future parents are going to be like, oh yeah, son, go play some games. Go play some games. That's crazy. Go and pull your weight, earn some money for us.
Right.
That's awesome. Bryce, thank you so much. That's come to the end of the interview. So are you now ready for the quickfire round, which is basically going to be 10 questions that I want you to answer as quickly as you can. They're going to be a bit about NFTs and also a little bit more personal questions so that viewers and listeners alike can get to know you a bit better.
Perfect.
Yeah? Okay. Right. This is quickfire round with Bryce. Okay, what is your single favorite NFT that you own?
It's called Umiverse. It's these little characters that have these insane hammers. They're trying to build a video game around it, kind of similar to Rocket League or Super Mario Strikers, which is a soccer related game. So Umiverse is my favorite. I'm gonna have to send you one.
Okay, yeah, please do. Where do you see the world of NFT gaming in the next 5 years?
I think it'll become mainstream in 5 years. My thought process is in 3 years, we'll see a lot of traditional games like EA Sports with FIFA or NBA 2K creating NFTs and allowing their users to own any game assets. So I think it'll be incredibly popular.
Where do you see yourself in the NFT space in the next 5 years?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Is it going to be like the NFT crypto freestyler of the metaverse?
Oh my goodness. Hopefully in 5 years, I'm like joining SNL. That's like one of my
Oh,
dreams.
okay.
Yeah, I want to get that. I want to get into acting. So hopefully I'm still gaming, and I'd love to be acting at that point as well.
But I saw you like to freestyle on your Instagram.
I do like the freestyle. I love making music. So
I have to hold you to that later. What's your best yet least useful talent?
my best talent, I would
Yet
probably,
least useful
it's my best but least useful talent.
kind of thing.
Oh my goodness. Probably, oh my God, that's a tough one. We got to come,
Go for it.
let me think for a second. My best and least useful talent.
I'll tell you mine. Mine's like remembering all the like things which you shouldn't remember. So I will remember the most little thing that no one else remembers. Like, I
Really?
remember the important things. Yeah.
You don't remember the important
No, not at all. I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember something that happened like, I don't know, 5 years ago that
Yeah.
no one else will remember.
I would say, like, to your point, then probably my best and least useful talent would be my ability to block things out. But the problem is it also ends up like blocking out a lot of my personal life. So I'm not very good at remembering birthdays or remembering like events that are coming up, but I'm incredibly good at working on one thing and then completely snapping my focus to the next thing and forgetting about, you know, maybe a rough time or a rough patch. Like I can completely like recycle my brain incredibly fast.
That sounds quite useful.
I mean, but it's bad because like from a personal standpoint,
Yeah.
it's not that helpful when people are like, oh, you didn't reach out. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I just didn't think about it because I'm constantly recycling. So
Okay.
I would say it's bad from a personal standpoint.
What's the most random hobby you've ever had?
My most random hobby, I love writing poetry.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I'm a big poetry writer. Yeah. Not gonna lie. I remember the first time I started writing poetry, I think I was 23, and I was dating this chick. We broke up. She broke my heart. So like I was so sad, and I had to get it out, but I didn't know how to like, you know, express myself. I didn't want to talk to her. So I just ended up writing all my feelings in a notebook. It ended up being a good place to write poetry. So that's how I found poetry. And now I'm a big enthusiast. I read a bunch of it. I have this Harlem book that's just full of poetry back in my flat. So I've been doing a little bit of research on poetry.
Could we like see NFT poetry by Bryce in future?
Oh, I would not be opposed to that.
Yeah. I
I don't think anyone's doing that.
Yeah. That's, oh my God, awesome. That's a new like little thing for you there. Okay. What was your favorite food growing up?
Rice,
Rice. Any particular type of rice?
white rice.
Just white rice?
I would
like
eat
the most
rice.
nutritious food ever.
Yeah, I would just eat rice with every meal. My mother would make it for me with every meal. And yeah, I think in a different language, Bryce actually means rice, which is,
Stop.
I swear.
Stop. It was in the stars. Rice
Yep.
was going to be your favorite food.
I don't know what it was, but it was just like, wow. Like, I love rice. Like, I can eat it with pretty much anything.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is people need to brush their teeth and make sure they floss.
Yeah, do Americans not really do that much? I thought Americans were known for having...
No, you would think so, but I've seen a ton of times where people, that and washing hands. Like, I hate when I'm going into a public place and like I'm using the bathroom and I just watch somebody use it and they just like shut out there. And it happens so often and I'll just be like, why? Like, what's happening to the world? But yeah, I guess hygiene in general, having good hygiene is very important.
It's like a sign of respect for like yourself and other people. So yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that one. Who is your hero?
Oh, my hero. That's a tough one. And I'm not going to say the whole, you know, simple, oh, my parents are my hero. They're great, but like,
But I have a better hero.
yeah. So I think from like a business standpoint, probably Elon Musk. I read a lot about him and Steve Jobs. And from a more creative standpoint, I'm a huge fan of Jamie Foxx. He's actually the person that made me really think about one day taking acting like seriously.
Oh, well, you both have like that kind of charisma. Like,
Oh, you're over here. You're flattering me now. Don't say that. I'm gonna go upstairs and try and skit or something.
moving on. If you came with a warning label, what would it say?
That's a funny one. It would probably say that at times he's emotionally unavailable, but he means well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you like explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think like in my dating life, it's hard for me to kind of really emotionally connect with people. And I don't know if it's a byproduct of I work a little bit too much or I haven't put enough time into truly getting to understand what makes me kind of love someone. So I'm not at that point where I'm like, okay, let me figure out what that looks like. So that's probably like my one warning label. Yeah, we can date, but I'm focused. I'm focused on my work.
That's fair enough. Like, you're at that stage right now. Okay, I've got your final question.
Ooh.
What is your life motto?
Become the impossible.
Yes, I've seen that like all over your socials.
Yeah.
Catchphrase.
Yeah, so it used to be chase the impossible, but then I realized, hey, you're going to always be chasing something. Instead of focusing on chasing, I wanted to focus on becoming the person I wanted to like envision every day. And it doesn't happen like in a moment. It's like gradual growth and understanding. So the whole impossible side of it is like whatever your goal is, think well beyond that, and even like wherever you reach, it'll be somewhere close to it. So I never think we get to the point where we're like 100% I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, but just chasing and looking and building towards the next thing is a great way to do it. And I want to embody that in my everyday life.
Bryce, thank you so much. It's been amazing and really enjoyed the conversation. And for listeners and viewers alike, if you want to get a hold of your own NFTeaseMe artwork for this episode with Bryce, you can check it out on our socials. It's going to be on OpenSea, and it also is going to be your access ticket to the live show in the metaverse. Bryce, thank you so much. I had one last favor before we wrap it up today to, help start your freelancing career. I wanted to give you the opportunity to do our outro for us this week.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be 30 seconds. I'm gonna show you the beat. I'll show you the beat now quickly.
I'm going to do something for this.
Hey, so this is gonna be restarting with Bryce. Jonathan, are you ready, bro?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'm ready. Is the mic on? We're good, right?
Okay, right.
This will be fun.
Okay. Right.
All right.
3, 2.
Okay. I like this beat. It's not too bad. I'm chilling with Mikey, NFT tease me, money on the moon, all I gotta say is please me, make a little money, I really like the game out, going to the moon and I ain't even chasing fame now, ice on my left wrist, I'm out in Miami, pull up in the morning, I got jammies, money coming quick cause I like making yammies, axie on the moon, yeah I'm insane that I talk, I do my whole thing, now I'm ballin'. Ice on my wrist, yeah, you really like to call it king shit, baby, and I'm on another planet. Don't got a Spanish girl, but I like to speak Spanish. Let me keep rapping and talking and playing. My head a little curly, I call it Super Saiyan. Going off to the moon, you see me, I'm the thriller. Might hit the Philippines and jump out to Manila. Shout out to Mikey, I really got the mic, please. And now the whole game off and I ain't got no sight.
I ran out of shit.
Oh my god, I was trying to give you space to breathe.
It was cool. Hopefully you got something good out of it.
Oh my god, I loved it. Loved it.
You put me on the spot. I was like, tease me, please me. I was
That
like,
was
what
great.
I need to
Thanks, Brian. I was going to let you go to the end, but I'm just wow.
I was actually running.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
That is it for this week. If you loved this episode and found it interesting, then tell your mates and give it a like or a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can also get involved with the community on socials and don't forget to hashtag NFTeaseMe.